Okay, it's 2 minutes past 11. We will get started. Firstly, welcome to the Club Support webinar. This webinar is on the use of technology to continue club activity and encourage member engagement. My name is Emma Hurst and my colleague Amy is also on the call. Amy and I are part of the Club Support team and we're delivering a series of webinars during the COVID-19 period and also beyond as well. So we do this as part of a series of webinars for Club Support. We're pleased that you can all join us this morning and we hope that this information will help you and your clubs throughout this period. Okay, so just to run through the format of the webinar, the format is listen only, so all your mics are muted. So there's no concerns if you're shouting at your laptop at the moment thinking we can't hear you, as all mics are muted. And the purpose for that is we've got quite a large number of people on there, so we try and keep it as fluid as possible. And we'll ask you that if you do have any questions throughout, you can use the chat function, which I can see quite a few of you have found already. So please do use the chat function to answer questions or share with us and with others what your clubs are doing. The session is going to be recorded and that's so we can make it available for those who couldn't join us this morning and also for you guys who are joining us who want to listen back to it or share it with some of the other members of your club. That should be on our website by the end of the week. There is no cameras, so don't panic if you still got your PJs on or you've not done your hair. That doesn't matter. We can't see you, so you don't need to worry about that. And then finally, just grab a drink and sit back and enjoy the webinar this morning. Okay, before I start, there's just a couple of things that I would like to say. Firstly, from all at England Athletics, we send our best wishes to everyone in the England Athletics family during this difficult period. We thank all key workers and frontline NHS staff, many of whom are athletes, runners, coaches and officials in their spare time. Secondly, I would like to thank all our clubs for the work you continue to do to ensure that all your members stay engaged during this period of limited activity as we know it. Okay, just seeing a couple of questions come up there before I start. Will the slides be sent out? Yes, they will. Okay, so what we're going to go through at this webinar will be the current guidance. We'll do a section on digital connectivity, club examples of best practice, further EA resources and support, and then we'll have an opportunity to run through some of the questions that are submitted. Now, Amy and I may cover some of the questions when we go through the presentation. So if there's any outstanding at the end, then we will go through them should we get time. If there is some questions that we feel require to take offline, i.e. to give you a call about, we will do so and we'll get your details from you on that. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so just to reiterate the current guidance that is out there. So current guidelines are stated on the England Athletics website, and these are updated in line with government guidance. So as it stands, there is a suspension of all athletics activity until the 31st of May. Now, should government change guidelines, further extend the lockdown, we will review what guidance we provide, but we are following government guidelines. The slide that's up at the moment is taken from our website and it just gives you a bit of an overview. If you want further, more detailed guidance, you can check that on our website. Okay. Okay, there's never been a more important time to connect digitally with people. England Athletics have produced some guidance on this, and there's a link below as you'll see. So you can find that on our website through Athletics at Home. During this webinar, we're going to highlight some of the platforms that are available, and we're going to refer to the athlete, the coach, and the committee. So for those of you who haven't picked up on the infographics, the person running is the athlete or runner. The cap is reference to a coach or a run leader, and the group of people is in reference to the committee and the club management, and how we can use technology such as laptops, tablets, and mobile phones to help us connect with our members. Okay, so there's a whole host of platforms that clubs can access, and indeed, I'm certain that some clubs already do access a lot of these platforms already as a way to communicate to their members. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here that Amy and I aren't technical experts in all of these. So for each of the platforms, if you do have technical inquiries or you want some advice on system requirements, we would advise you to look directly on the platform websites themselves. So we're not technical experts, but we do have a little bit of experience in using some of these platforms ourselves, even in our personal lives or through work. So we will try to answer some of your questions the best we can. Please feel free to write any comments, particularly if you do use some of these platforms and you want to share how you use them with others throughout, and we can maybe highlight some of them at the end. Okay, so first up, we've got the social media platforms. Now, social media has been around for quite a few number of years, and I already see clubs using social media really effectively to communicate to their members through such things as Facebook groups and using Facebook pages to promote their club outwardly to their local community. Clubs also do use Instagram and Twitter as well, and some are starting to use YouTube. TikTok is probably the newest one on the scene and is more around dance, although I have seen some run groups in particular doing some running dances to TikTok, which seems quite amusing if you've ever seen any of them. What we're going to focus on mainly today will be the virtual meeting platforms, and I think that's because the majority of them is relatively new to clubs on how they communicate to their members or how they can conduct some meetings. So the next slide, I'll touch a bit more on these platforms in detail and show you a few visuals on what they look like to give you an idea. We also have got messaging services through Messenger and WhatsApp. So again, I do know clubs who use them already. There's also a new one on the block called Slack, which also can produce quite effective in getting groups of people together to communicate messages. And then I guess old-fashionedly, maybe so, not to some, we do have conference call services, so i.e. using your telephone to host calls which can take up to approximately 10 people on them calls. So you would use your mobile phone to dial in to a service whereby you can hear other people on the call and host a conversation. So they're the main ones that we know about and the ones that we refer. I'm almost certain that there's a lot more out there, and other clubs may have used other ones. These are just the ones that we know that are proved effective, and the ones that we know that do work. Okay. Okay, so this next slide is just running through some of the main ones in terms of carrying out virtual meetings. So the first one we've got up there is Google Hangouts. Now, actually, before I go on to that, I think one point just to make is that quite a lot of them are pretty much like for like, i.e. you can host virtual meetings with them all. And some of it may come down to personal preference and what you find easiest to navigate and to use. So I know when I've been helping clubs to sign up for meetings, what we've done is we've tested out a couple of options first, just to see which ones people can connect to better and which they find the functionality easier to use. So it might be something to consider if you're looking at testing out some of these, maybe pick a couple that you think would work quite well and just test them out with a few of your club members before you go wider. Okay, so back onto Google Hangouts. So this is if you have a Google account. A lot of people do, but not everyone does. And you can have voice chats, and it allows participants to join in via email or a shareable link. So you don't necessarily all need to download an app or anything like that, but you do need a Google account. So if you go in via an email or a link, it will ask you to sign up to Google, and it allows up for 10 people in that video call, which is pretty good, and there's no time limits. Skype has been one that's been around for some time, and it allows up to 50 people on that call free of charge. The only drawback to Skype is that you need to have a Skype account and you need to download Skype in some capacity. So that might be an app. You might download it on the desktop or on a mobile phone. That platform's probably been around the longest, and probably is not as popular as some of the others. There's a comment that's just come through there. Teams tending to replace Skype. So Teams is coming up next, so we'll talk about Teams. And you're right, I don't know the timescales on it, but I have also heard that Teams will replace Skype, or they will merge. Zoom. So we've had a couple of people down the side have highlighted Zoom as a good platform. Zoom is a free account. It can host up to 100 people, but if you've got 3 or more, it is a time limit to 40 minutes. You can upgrade, so I believe it's $11.99 for the next package upgrade. You've got 4 different packages that you can choose from. I guess if you do go with the free one, there's not a limit to how many you have. So if you get kicked out after 40 minutes and you haven't finished, then you can just quickly set up another one and sign back in. Some people might think actually having a 40-minute time cap on a meeting is pretty good, and you can get a lot of your meeting businesses carried out through 40 minutes. Certainly maybe some online coaching classes, 40 minutes would be ample. Okay, so WebEx is another company that you can use. It's probably not as popular as some of the others and is fairly basic in its functionality. It can host up to 100 participants in a single call, and there's no limits on there. It does enable you to share your screen, and it can record. In fact, a lot of these that we're referring to, you can record the conversation. So if it was a committee meeting, for example, and you wanted to share what was discussed in that committee meeting, you could then circulate the video after. It does enable you to save the video on 1 gig of cloud, whereas some of the others will save it directly onto your laptop, so you do need space on your laptop. Microsoft Teams, again, somebody referred to that earlier about linking in with Skype. I don't know the timescales for that. I do know it will happen, but it is a blend of chat. So you have a chat function down one side, which people can type comments in and share documents, and then you've got video conferencing as well. This can host up to 250 attendees, so it's pretty big. Now I've just seen a couple of comments down the side that I thought it might be useful to pick up. So just bear with me while I scroll that. So somebody's put Zoom is not an encrypted service. Yeah, so I have read, again, I'm not an expert in this, but I have read that Zoom is not an encrypted service, and that there has been some occasions of meetings being hacked into. So that is something to bear in mind. I personally never had that experience. Do all of these require Wi-Fi? Can any just work with 4G? Not a question that I'm not sure of. Again, if it's a system one, you'll need to just go and check what system requirements are. I think 4G is pretty strong, so I'd like to say it potentially will. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I can see more and more questions coming through, so when Amy and I switch over, I'll have a quick scan through of some of them. Okay, just scanning through. There's a couple of good examples of how people are using them as well. Okay, so the next part I'll show you is just some visuals really of what they look like, which I think you might find quite useful if you're not familiar with them or haven't used them before. So this is Zoom. As you can see with Zoom, multiple screens up there all at once. It does have the option for speaker view, so that if the person who's speaking, they will become the main picture on the screen if you choose that. So you've got two different modes: speaker view and gallery mode. Depends how you want it. You've got the option to mute everybody as a host, so similar to what we're doing today. So just one person's talking, and then you can unmute them when people have a question. So there's quite a lot of functionality on Zoom that people seem to like. The next one, this is Teams. So Teams, the example that we've got here is on a mobile phone, and you can see the chat function as well. It's the same visual as if you were looking at it on a laptop or desktop. Yeah, I think that's good. And you can also share documents. So if you're looking at, for example, an agenda or minutes from a previous meeting, or you want to share a club development plan, you can share that and work through it and edit it as you're working through. Okay, this is Skype. So we've got Skype, pretty self-explanatory. These are just photos that are on there, but you can use it. You can activate the videos if you wish and mute as well. And then this is the WebEx one. I've seen a couple of comments on WebEx coming through, saying the functionality is pretty basic, and I think, yeah, it's probably one of the most basic entry ones out there from what I've read. But yeah, this is what this one would look like for you. And then finally, we've got the Google Hangouts on here. Again, as you can see, they are very much like for like. You can see who's on the call. You've got video. You've got the mute, and you can share screen as well on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I can see a large amount of questions coming through. I'm going to pass you on to my colleague Amy now, who's going to take you through the next remaining slides. And whilst Amy's doing that, I will go through some of the questions and see if I can formulate some answers for the end of the session. Please keep sharing what you're doing, because there's been some really useful tips that are coming through, so we can all learn from each other. I don't think Amy and I profess to be experts in this, but we have got a lot of clubs who are using these systems already that have got a lot of good stuff to share. So please continue to do that. I'm going to pass you on to Amy now, who will take you through the next slide.
Hi everyone, thanks Emma. Would just be useful actually to double check everybody can hear me. If one or two people could just type in the comments box that they can hear me, that would be excellent. Great, thank you very much. Yeah, so thanks Emma. As Emma just alluded to, whilst we may not be experts necessarily in this field, we have come across a lot of clubs who are using various different platforms and using technology in various different ways to continue to engage with their members. And it's been excellent to see. It's been really inspiring actually to see how much is happening and taking place out there. So in terms of the examples that we're going to look at today, in terms of which aspects of club life digital technology can be used, we're going to look at how using technology to engage with your members, both in terms of volunteers and athletes, how using technology digitally clubs can effectively set up activities, set training plans, and how to continue to run the club and to work together on various projects during this period. So as you will undoubtedly know yourselves. For some people, their running club, their athletics club, is a huge part of their life. It may well be a huge part of your life. And so engaging with your members is so important for various different reasons. And so facilitating a connection between members is really important through various different platforms that Emma just showed you previously to ensure a two-way communication and to keep members truly engaged so that they feel like they're still engaging with the club as much as you're engaging with them. Particularly great opportunity potentially to be engaging with the parents of some of the athletes at your club. It's an opportunity to engage with them and introduce them to the skills that the children are developing. And so hopefully by connecting with them and staying engaged with them, perhaps when life returns a bit more to normality, there may actually be an opportunity to bring some of those parents into the club. So I think that's a bit of an aside that's worth considering. And I'm sure the more we connect now with members, the more likely they are to return. So we'll have a look at some club examples now. These are only a few examples. There are lots out there. And actually, at the end of this presentation, there is a link to a page on our website where we're sharing all the examples of good practice that we've seen out there. Within Running Club, they're using Facebook Live to host their virtual quiz night. We're seeing quite a lot of clubs actually using Facebook Live to host virtual quizzes, which is a great way to engage with your members. A great thing about Facebook Live is that you can then upload a video of that onto YouTube so that people can watch that at a later date. So that's worth exploring. St. Teresa's Athletic Club, we've provided some examples there of lots of different ways in which they've engaged with their members, but in terms of how they're using digital technology to engage with their members, we really liked actually their use of Strava to create art. And it's quite popular amongst road running community, and there's quite a skill involved to creating art via Strava, but it's just another way of engaging members. We'll talk a little bit more about Strava in the next couple of slides actually as well. At the top right hand corner of this screen, Redway Runners Virtual Challenge 2020, they're using a platform called Results Base, where they can create a club event. So for example, a 5k virtual race, and members can enter online and record their results, and all the admin is done for the club. I know there's various platforms like this out there. I guess it's just another way that members can feel like they're entering an event, can feel part of something that's happening, and it's quite an easy way of a club managing something like that virtually. At the bottom, another example of clubs using quizzes to engage with their members, this time via Zoom or Skype, but again it's a similar sort of way of doing things. But they've actually said that they'd be very happy to share their running themed quiz. I guess this is an opportunity as well to engage with other clubs on these various platforms as well. And then we also have a really nice simple example from East Cheshire Harriers, not only about providing a challenge, but just how can you use technology to actually engage with your members through that challenge. So obviously encouraging your members to tweet their results, photos, videos on Twitter, or to use Facebook as well. I actually came across as well a Run Together group. There was a question earlier posed around kind of connection via 4G, who have used Zoom to connect to while people are out doing a virtual run. Meanwhile, people kind of chatting via Zoom, and that seemed to work. And then after the run finished, they also kind of caught up for half an hour to have a chat via Zoom, because I think recognising that a run isn't necessarily the only important thing. So in terms of coaching and why it's important for us to try and keep some connection going with our athletes, I think for many the coaching interaction is more than just maintaining performance. for many athletes and coaches. They will miss training with others and the interaction. It's potentially a great opportunity to focus on fundamental movement skills and to form some good habits for athletes to integrate this part of training into their regular routine, which they may not currently do. And again, a great opportunity to involve parents. And hopefully you will have seen some of the coaching webinars and the resources which have been made available to help. And again, we'll provide a link to that information at the end of this presentation. So some club examples of interacting with athletes to set sessions. On top left-hand corner is a post by Jenny Meadows, her husband, Trevor Painter. I think from watching the video, it's probably via Zoom, but it's a group of athletes all doing the same session remotely via Zoom. And it's just a great way of being able to provide live encouragement, check that the environment that the athletes are in is safe, and to provide some technical kind of guidance as well. Written runners have been using Facebook Live again for their circuit sessions. I think this is a great way to keep sessions taking place at the same time. So if your sessions usually take place Tuesday at 7 p.m, it helps to keep some sort of routine in place. The top right hand corner, we have an example from Hartlepool Athletics using various different platforms to run lots of different activity. But importantly with this, they've used their website to create a new tab on their website where they can coordinate all of their activity, because I guess if as a club you're using lots of different platforms, it's probably a good idea to make sure in one place you can show everything that's going on, so people know where to find anything that the club is running. And similarly, Rugby and Northampton AC in the bottom right hand corner there have done a similar thing. So that's a post that's gone onto Facebook, but it summarises all of the activities they've got their members to do across the week, including live sessions, challenges, activity for the garden, and things to do if they can get out and do a session on the road or on some grass. And a benefit of this potentially is creating a programme that can bring a variety of different groups within a club to take part in the same sessions at the same time. I mentioned Strava earlier. For anybody that perhaps isn't aware, every athlete registered with England Athletics receives a free 3-month summit trial, which provides some enhanced analysis and some real-time performance feedback and some training plans. That's maybe an additional benefit to look at if you've not looked at that before. And then management, obviously it's still really important during this time to keep the club running and to ensure that the club can reopen once it's possible. Clubs may need to be discussing contingency plans where there have been losses of income. And with more of the club engaging digitally, it's as important as ever to oversee content posted and to stay connected with your volunteers and coaches, and to understand how they are connecting with their members. And again, potentially another good opportunity here to review how the club runs and its policies and procedures. A very similar slide to one that we showed earlier. We've become aware of lots of clubs using various different platforms to continue this work going, which is great. So in particular, we've seen lots of clubs running committee meetings via Zoom, Teams. I think a few examples of Skype. I did see a note earlier on saying Skype, people have found Skype a little slower, WebEx meetings as well. Lots and lots and lots of clubs out there. The few that we've noted were Rotherham Harriers, Rugby at Northampton AC, Chiltern Harriers, and some county associations. But just looking at the notes that have come in the chat box, many of you are using that already to run some of your club committee meetings, which is great. We also know that some clubs have been using conference call facilities. I guess maybe not everybody. Kind of the video conferencing is something that works for them. I'm aware of the Moorbooks Athletics Network using a conference call facility to continue to talk to other local clubs and to share kind of what they've been doing over the last few weeks and how they're coping at this time. I think it's worth noting at this point that if your club has a communications strategy already, because it maybe already uses various different platforms, it may be worth adapting this at this time and ensuring that any critical information isn't missed, because there's probably so much information that you potentially could be putting out there digitally as a club. It's just ensuring how you ensure that any critical messages that you need to get out to your membership aren't missed. If your club is reviewing policies at this time or is working on a particular project that may have seen a subgroup meeting, perhaps, using platforms such as Google G Suite or similar can help you all to work on one document remotely. So I think there are lots of ways in which a club can continue to look at its club management, to look at its policies and procedures, to ensure it keeps good governance during this time. Emma mentioned previously some of the messaging services. We're aware of clubs using various ones such as WhatsApp, Messenger and Slack. As an example, I know Chiltern Harriers AC use Slack across the club because of the channel functionality that it has. So you can set up various different channels within that to discuss different subject matters within the club, and different people can subscribe to those various different channels. So it's a good way of keeping in touch with key volunteers within your club to ensure project work or general running of the club can continue during this time. Okay, Emma, would you like to take over from here? And I'll run through the messages that come through in the chat box.
Yeah, sure. Can everybody hear me now? I'm back on. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, thanks, Amy. So we have got some further guidance and support that we can offer. I just wanted to highlight a couple of links that are on our website. In this presentation will be available after. Hopefully you can find these fairly straightforward on our website. So as I alluded to right at the beginning, digital connectivity. So we do have an article on athletics at home on the website, which explains various different platforms that Amy and I have spoke about. On that site, there is actually links to other information from other organisations that are a bit more probably tech savvy than us, and can provide that a bit more detailed background into that. So I would encourage us as a starting point really to have a look at that site, because it's some great information on there and great links to other advice. Amy mentioned it earlier, club sharing ideas. So on our website, what we've tried to do is collate what clubs are doing during this period virtually. A lot of that has been collated through social media, so what we've seen on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, etc. So if you are doing some great virtual club activity, please do tweet us, copy us in on Facebook so we can see and we can retweet you. What we're keen to do is continue sharing what clubs are doing as a way to help others. So there's some more examples on there. We've got some advice on virtual coaching as well that sits on our website, which hopefully you'll find useful. And we've also got club resources. So on the website now, there's a club resource section. And this isn't just relevant to the period that we're in now. These resources are relevant for club activity generally, and will help you with things such as governance, health and safety, welfare, disability, etc. So there's a whole host of new resources that are on there that you will find useful, and you could use the time to look through them and see how they can help your club. We also work closely with Sport England, and they have a website called Club Matters, which is a website for sports clubs. So it's not athletic specific. It is across general voluntary sector sports clubs. and they've set up a page on their side for coronavirus resources, and there's some really, really useful resources on there, such as virtual AGMs, how to engage members, digital platforms, club finances. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that site in particular. There's some really, really good stuff on there that would be useful when you're looking at virtual support and any other support that you need during this time. Okay, and finally, just to reiterate some of the additional support and resources that England Athletics are offering during this time. So we started a campaign called Athletics at Home, and we've got an Athletics at Home section on our website now. And within that section, it highlights everything that we're doing for clubs during this period. So we have a whole host of club webinars that you can access. They're running weekly. There's normally around 7 or 8 of them a week that you can access. Club support webinars. So we have some more topic-based ones. So the one next week is regarding club welfare. We have some phonetics videos, so free fun activities for 4 to 11-year-olds that you could use to share with your members if you have athletes of that age group. We've got some resources for athletes 11 plus through Athletics 365 and Athletics 365 XL as well. So previously they was at a cost to athletes and parents, but during this period they are now free to access. I've already mentioned the club resources that are on there. Digital connectivity, we've mentioned that already. And we've also got a section on mental health, so information to help you look after your mental health as well as others, such as your club members. So these are the type of things that we're offering during this time, and we hope they are of use to you during this period, and they can help you continue to engage with your members as well as help you as individuals through this period. Okay, so that concludes the webinar for